This clean did something that no clean before it has ever done. It brought an infestation into my own home. And if I'd been told the truth about this clean before I started, chances are I never would have agreed to clean it in the first place. Now, obviously, you can see the caca, you can see the piles of rotten food, clothes, the flies, the maggots, but it's what you can't see with the naked eye that makes this property so dangerous. Extra brownie points to whoever can guess what that threat is before I reveal it later in the video. But before that, it's time for a bit of context. A woman and her 2 young cats lived here. And after speaking to her and seeing this property in person, it became very obvious very quickly that those 2 young cats spent most of their days trapped inside this bathroom. Because their litter trays were all full and hadn't been emptied in a while, they had started going to the toilet anywhere that they could find a clear, clean space. As you can imagine, that room is a biohazard. There's feces everywhere, the floor's wet with urine, but the cherry on top is that most of the cat waste had actually seeped underneath the bathroom floor. So we also had a maggot party under there that we need to deal with sooner rather than later. Now, if you've been here before, you'll already know that I only clean for people in need and I only clean for free. I mainly fund this service through my YouTube channel, so if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking this video, and dropping a comment down below. Let's get into the video. Right now in the UK, we're having a heat wave. How many degrees is it? It's over 30. I'm sweating like a pig on a stick at a hog roast. And obviously, guys, you already know, with the types of cleans we do, add heat onto that. We've got a lot of flies, we've got a lot of maggots, and we've got a lot of smells going on. There is a mysterious bin over in the corner, and it is full of flies. And I'm very nervous to open it and see what's inside. I'm hoping it's just full of nothing.
Oh, close it. Ugh.
All of those little brown specks that you see in this bin are fly pupae. It's basically what a maggot turns into before it hatches into a fly, so yummy. Aside from all of the flies and the rotten food, there is also a lot of clothes in this living room. So we started by separating the clothing from the rubbish. Understandably, a lot of you are going to have a lot of questions about the resident, so whilst Harry continues to separate the clothes from the rubbish in this living room, let me tell you everything that she told me when she applied for her free clean. She lost someone very important to her in her life. Now, the whole family struggled with this death, but the resident in particular was launched into a deep, dark, depressive episode. She's always been very close with her brother, and since he was so worried about her mental well-being, he ended up moving into her flat with her to keep her company and to keep her on the right track. You'll notice a decent amount of the clothes in this property are also men's clothes. They belong to her brother. Whilst she was navigating that first bereavement, she lost another person, and that person was her brother. The same brother that had moved in with her, that was looking after her, that she was really close with, who was helping her see through her depressive episode. Just like that, in the blink of an eye, he was gone. I'm gonna be very careful about how I word this next part for 2 reasons. The first is that it is a very sensitive topic, and the second is that her brother's tragic death made national news headlines across the UK and most of Europe when it happened. Now, I can tell you that the nature of her brother's passing was that he was murdered, but out of respect for the resident, her family, and their privacy, I'm not gonna be revealing any further details. Grieving in private is hard enough, but grieving in public, where every newspaper you open is a picture of your brother's face, and every time you log on social media you're seeing videos about his tragic death, that's gonna mess with anyone's head. For the next year, she just went completely numb. She stopped looking after herself and she stopped looking after her home. Not long after this, she lost a 3rd person. That person was her long-term boyfriend. He didn't pass away, but their relationship did break down. This really was the final straw for the resident. Her mental health became so dire that she was detained under the Mental Health Act and sectioned into a psychiatric hospital for treatment. When that treatment was finished, she was discharged and she returned home to find her flat in the exact same condition that it was when she last left it. Understandably, it is so hard to continue in your journey of recovery when you are in the same setting and the same environment that you were in when it all kicked off in the first place. But she was desperate to get better and she was really brave. She reached out to me and applied for a free deep clean, and usually my waiting list is months long. But something very rare was happening with my schedule. I had just landed back in the UK from a big free clean that I was doing in the Netherlands, and I had 6 days at home in London before I had to fly back out to Philadelphia in America for work again. So I sat Harry down and was like, you know how I said I would take a week off and I would have a break? We're doing this free clean, it's an emergency. And Harry immediately looked at me and was like, okay, let's do it. I feel slightly bad because I did originally tell Harry, after seeing the photos and talking to the lady, that, you know, this free clean would probably take an absolute maximum of 4 days. We'd be able to bang it out and still have like 2 days together before I flew out to the States. Little did I know at the time that this property was not what it seemed on the surface. Although it initially looked like it would be an easy clean, there was a spanner in the works, guys, because we found out after a day at being at the free clean that this entire property was infested with fleas. And if there's one thing you need to know about me, I hate fleas. In a series of unfortunate events, the worst case scenario for us at this point in the clean has happened. When we went yesterday, I immediately noticed fleas. We didn't notice them before, but there was a lot of fleas. I think we ended up cleaning for maybe 2-3 hours. Harry's got, easily over like 50 bites. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
How many would you say? They're everywhere on him. He looks like
finding new ones.
He looks like he's got like chicken pox. And again, we're wearing hazmat suits. We're fully protected, like you guys can see, but they're still getting in. They get on your clothes. Yesterday when we came home, we have to like do a whole like de-fleeing routine before we step through our front door to make sure we're definitely not bringing any home with us. And even then, I'm like taking off my socks and they're leaping out from inside my socks. The worst thing is that Panda, our dog, obviously he has all of his flea treatment, his medication, his worming, everything. Gave him a bath last night when we got back. I found 2 fleas on him and 1 flea egg sac on him. So that's concerning. It's added a whole new spanner to the work. I have a strict I don't clean properties with fleas policy for this reason. Not only is it a risk to anyone else I clean for, because I'm going through so many different properties, I don't want to spread fleas. I also don't want to give it to my household. I don't want to give it to Panda. And like, as sexy as Harry is, he does lose a few points when he's covered in red marks. You should see his bum right now. It's ridiculous. It looks like a meat feast pepperoni pizza. It's crazy. The plan moving forward, obviously we've bought so much flea treatment. We're making sure that we are properly and fully protected, but it does change the plan of the clean. It just makes everything longer. I'm meant to be going to America on Thursday. It's Monday now. This clean is nowhere near completed. It just means that we have to be careful about how we proceed. I'm pausing this free clean video for just a sec because I think I've just found the most satisfying cleaning game ever made. It's called Power Wash Simulator 2, and if you love satisfying cleaning videos like me, then you're gonna love playing this. It's the sequel to the beloved Power Wash Simulator, and it's just launched with a brand new campaign, new locations, and honestly, even more dirt to blast away. So I invited my friend Murdo round to play it with me, and what was supposed to be a quick hour-long gaming session turned into taking up pretty much the whole day. Before we knew it, hours had gone by. We both just fell into this super weird cleaning trance. Murdo would spray the soapy gun and I would jet wash it off, and then we would take a step back and just watch everything sparkle. Teamwork really does make the dream work. This time, the game has a split screen co-op, so you can clean together from the same sofa or play online with up to 4 friends. There are also new tools like the surface cleaner and the foamy soap, and even new ways to move around like abseiling and using the scissor lift, which makes cleaning massive areas so much more fun. Oh, and yes, you can pet the cats. Absolute 10 out of 10 feature. And listen, it's rare that I get a weekend at home when I'm not physically on a free clean. But I had that this weekend, and I am not ashamed to admit that I spent every single day playing this game. I know I said earlier that it's a little bit addictive, but I might have lied. It's very addictive. Safe to say that I love it, and if you're anything like me, I'm pretty positive that you will too. So if you love satisfying cleaning videos and you find cleaning relaxing just like I do, then you will love playing Power Wash Simulator 2. It's out now and available to buy on Nintendo Switch 2, Xbox Series X and S, PC, and PlayStation 5. I want to say a huge thanks to Power Wash Simulator 2 for sponsoring this video. I've popped all of the information down below in the description box, so definitely check it out if you're interested. And now, let's get back to the free clean. Okay, now it's time to start on the bathroom, and before I launch into this, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, which is obviously the condition that those two young cats were left in. I'm going to start by pointing out the obvious, which is that two things can be true at the same time. Yes, we can have empathy and all the sympathy in the world for the resident and for everything she has gone through, because let's be honest, the decline of her mental health was not due to a singular incident. It was multiple incidents that had built up over time until they became unmanageable for her. And again, if I'm being brutally honest, what happened to her could easily happen to any of us. The second truth is that this is clearly a very neglectful situation, and the two young cats that were living here were clearly not getting the care that they deserved because their owner was not in a good space of mind to provide it to them. And I'm not saying that to be harsh on the owner. She told me herself that she knew they deserved better, and before this clean actually took place, she was in the process of rehoming both cats before the clean began. They were due to be picked up by their new owner the night before this free clean began. Now, unfortunately, that new owner never showed up, so the process of trying to get these kittens rehomed began again. I did offer to help the resident rehome these cats, but she was very insistent that she wanted to do it herself. So obviously I'm going to respect her wishes and not get involved in the rehoming process. Because they were due to be rehomed, she did tell me that I could throw away all of the cat stuff in the home. So at this point in the free clean, I've emptied the bathroom, I've scooped up the top layers of all of the caca, and we found new flooring underneath. So immediately I was like, we're going to rip up that lino straight away and get to the proper hard flooring underneath, because I'm sure it'll be in a better condition. And that's when I found all of the maggots and the fly pupae. Now, I read your guys' comments, and I know that the vast majority of you hate maggots and can't stand the sight of them, so I have removed that footage. But if we're talking about things we hate, let's talk about fleas. You know, fleas that aren't always visible, difficult to remove, and breed like crazy. Because this home had a lot of them. Now, I'm going to be very transparent with you and put my hands up. I messed up by accepting this free clean. Not because the resident doesn't need or deserve help, but because I was reckless. I read the application form, I saw that it was an emergency, and I accepted the free clean and scheduled it in without a second glance backwards. I didn't do a double check to make sure that all of the information that the resident had told me about this property and about this clean before I showed up was the whole story. And that's my fault. I hold my hands up. I should have asked more questions. But because this was an emergency clean, I took all of the information that was given to me at face value, and I didn't pry as much as I normally would. My fault. I will say it again. That was my bad. Now, for anyone who thinks I am being dramatic over my hatred for fleas, let me tell you a little bit about them. Just like I put on the screen a few minutes ago, fleas aren't always visible. Obviously, they're like like little vampires. They drink your blood, they carry diseases, they can survive in crazy environments. And a lot of people think fleas only affect animals. That's just not true. They breed like crazy, they lay like 50 eggs a day, but those aren't the reasons that I hate fleas as much as I do. The main reason I hate fleas is because they can literally hitch a ride on anything. I'm talking hair, I'm talking clothes, I'm talking furniture. And because they jump and they can very easily jump from one host to the next, they spread like crazy. If you have fleas in one household and you go from that household to another, chances are you've got some hitchhikers and you're bringing those fleas with you, whether you like it or not. So whilst I scrubbed the urine stains out of this bathroom floor, let me tell you a fun story about how Harry and I infested our own home with fleas. So as I said before, we didn't notice the fleas until the second day. However, when we got home from the clean on the first day, and remember, we were not expecting fleas because we'd been told there were no fleas. Therefore, we were not protecting ourselves against the fleas. But we got home from the clean and Harry was itching like crazy. But we just assumed it was allergies because it was the middle of a UK heat wave. There was loads of pollen. Everyone was getting hay fever. It made sense. But on the second day, when we cleared more of the hallway, we found an unopened box of flea combs. And at this point, Harry wasn't just itching. His whole body was covered in bites. Now, I actually didn't end up recording the second day because as soon as I found the flea combs, I went outside and called the resident and asked her about them. She was very upfront. She told me, yes, she bought flea combs, but she'd never opened them because she'd never had to use them because she, point blank, does not have fleas. So I pried a bit more and I asked a question that honestly at the time I felt really bad for asking. I felt like I was being really annoying by continuing to pry. But I asked her, can I ask why you're so adamant that you definitely don't have fleas? And her answer hit me like a truck. She said to me on the phone, I know for a fact I don't have fleas because my cats have never left the flat. Her basis for being so adamant that she didn't have fleas was because she believed that the only way you could get fleas in your home is if you had an outside cat. Now, I fully believe that she was not aware she had fleas. She clearly didn't understand how fleas worked, and that is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'd be lying if I said my heart did not drop to my stomach in that moment, because I knew right then and there that if she's got fleas and I've been at her property unprotected against fleas, then it's highly likely that the bites all over Harry's body are flea bites. And it's also highly likely that those fleas have hitchhiked back to mine and Harry's and that our home also had fleas. So immediately I told her, listen, I've got to go home. I've got to buy loads of flea treatment because I hadn't bought it before this because I wasn't expecting fleas. I need to check my own dog. I need to check my own home, and I will keep you updated and I will return as soon as I can. So Harry and I packed up to leave for the day. And guys, when I took off my clothes outside, they were teeming with fleas. I had fleas everywhere. They were in my hair. They were even in my socks. That night, I went home. I treated my entire flat. I combed Panda. I gave him an anti-flea bath. I found 2 adult fleas on him and an egg sac on him. And obviously he receives his monthly flea treatment every single month, so he is fully protected. But the fact that there was 2 adult fleas on him and an egg sac told me that there was a serious infestation in my home beginning. Fleas are like cockroaches. If you see one, best believe you've got thousands. I immediately just went on a frenzy. I started checking my bed. Lo and behold, I found some flea eggs in my bed. We found some flea eggs in the carpet. They were just everywhere. And again, fleas are very difficult to spot with the naked eye. You really have to get on your hands and knees and find them. If it's just a rogue flea, it's going to be difficult. Obviously, if you've got hundreds or thousands of fleas, then yes, you can see them. They're all these little black specks. I was deep cleaning and steaming my flat until the early hours of the morning. It was like over 12 hours in total just of straight cleaning. It was long past midnight when I finally got into bed. As I was lying in bed, I felt something on my neck, so random, and I just reached out and grabbed it, and I squished my fingers together, and I ran to the bathroom, turned on the light, and I just had an inkling I've got a flea between my fingers. Filled my sink up with water because fleas cannot swim, they die in water. I literally opened my fingers up under the water in my sink, and lo and behold, there's a flea there. I was like, oh my God, like all that cleaning, it's done nothing. There's still fleas. I only slept for 2 hours that night because I was panicking. And safe to say, I wasn't having a great time the next day.
Yes, it's very hot.
I'm really struggling. I hate this. When you're watching this, I don't know when this video is going to come out, but just remember that time in the UK when it was absolutely sweltering and it was like above 30 degrees and we were all like struggling to sleep at night because it was so hot. Well, that's what's happening right now, and we are obviously on a free clean. You have to wear obviously all the PPE, the full face respirator, all of that stuff for like your own safety. Can you even see I've just put these on? It's like wet, slick with sweat, so I can't grip anything, I can't grab anything. When I put my full face respirator on, I'm sweating so much that the seal is breaking. I'm just so hot, but it's so contaminated in here that it's not an option to have like less clothes underneath the hazmat suit. It's not an option to not have a hazmat suit on. So our hands are tied. What we're thinking is tomorrow we're gonna come in the middle of the night. We're gonna have to do like farmer times. 3 a.m, get to the clean for like 5 a.m. latest, work till 9 a.m, 10 a.m. when it starts to get really hot. And then we're gonna have to take a siesta throughout the day and come back late in the evening. And I think we're gonna have to do the same today. Also, everyone's gonna be like, don't touch your face. Then fresh gloves, I've not touched anything yet. I'm not complaining for like no reason. I don't know how crime scene cleaners, biohazard cleaners that do this all year round, I don't know how they do it. If you're watching and you are one of those people, number one, I have the deepest respect for you. Number two, if you have any hacks or tips to like do these cleans in this kind of heat without getting faint, without feeling really nauseous because of how hot you are, please let me know, because I'm open to any and all suggestions. I am going to do the bedroom now and like stop complaining for a little bit, but Harry will still hear me complaining, I'm sure. He's struggling too, by the way.
It's not that bad at all.
It's
like very cool. She's just pretty emotional and extreme.
Also, they can't even see your face, so they can't even see that you're taking the piss. They could just see a bit of your mask.
I'm not taking the piss. It's pretty fine. Look, I'm not sweating at all. It's perfectly fine. She's just complaining.
Now, I knew this woman wasn't in a healthy headspace and likely didn't understand how fleas worked, so I'm not gonna blame her. It's not her fault. I should have asked way more questions and pried so much more about the situation before I turned up for the clean. But I will be so for real with you, I was panicking. Not just because I now had fleas in my own home, but also because whilst this free clean was going on, the resident was staying with the cats at a friend's house. She wasn't having any luck getting them rehomed, and at this point it was highly likely that the friend's house was also contaminated with fleas. I obviously told her she needs to tell her friends and she needs to get the cat's flea treatment. And in the meantime, Harry and I continued to clear this bedroom and we started laying down the flea killer across the entire home. All of the little specks that you see on the floor in this room, it's not just dirt, it's also dead fleas, which is a really good sign. It shows that the flea killer is working. Now, her bedding was all in a really bad condition, so we did decide to throw it, whereas the mattress needed a lot of love but was definitely salvageable. So I've just finished hoovering the mattress to get as much of the flea eggs, dirt, debris, anything off of it. Now we are going to absolutely saturate it in this. And then the plan is to leave it to marinate in the spray. And while it's marinating, I am going to be cleaning this wall, like deep cleaning this area. And then the plan is to flip this up against the wall, treat both sides, and then I can work on cleaning the rest of the room without having to worry about any fleas jumping on me from here. because they love soft furnishing. So we're gonna start. Now, I'll be real with you, the chronological order of this footage is all over the place. I've tried to order it in a way that makes sense when you're watching it, but because of all of the fleas, I wasn't sure how much of this clean I was actually gonna show, or if I was even going to say that there were fleas here in the first place. That's why there's a lot of time gaps, and it's also why in some clips you'll see me with full PPE, in others you won't see me with any. And I know I'm exposing myself a little bit by admitting this, but there's also not much footage because I was so close to going home and not returning to this clean so many times. Not just because of the fleas and the clean itself, but also partly because I found this clean really difficult due to a lack of communication with the resident. And I know that sounds super duper harsh, but let me explain. My top priority at this point in the clean was getting rid of all of the fleas. Every time I would leave my home in the morning to go to this home and then vice versa, I was risking bringing fleas from one place to another. There was no way I was gonna get my home 100% flea free until this free clean property was also flea free. And it took a long time and a lot of work, but we finally got there. By the end of day 4, there was no more fleas. I literally said to Harry, let's spray this home with flea killer one last time and let's get an early night. And then I got a phone call from the resident. She told me that her and her friend had had a fight and that her friend had kicked both her and the 2 cats out. She was understandably very upset, very overwhelmed, and she wanted to come home. And that was a bit of a problem because we'd just gotten rid of all of the fleas. Her friend's house had likely been contaminated with fleas. The cats had likely still got fleas. And if she came back, we ran the risk of her reintroducing the fleas back into the home. I explained to her, you know, the mattress was still slightly damp from being like heavily treated. Her room was empty. All of her clothing was bagged and outside on the balcony because that needed to be treated for fleas. You know, her home wasn't really in an appropriate condition for her to be spending the night there. I was desperately trying to think of a solution, but my hands were pretty much tied. It was like 9 p.m. at this point. I offered to pay for a hotel for her, but she didn't want to do that. And I didn't feel comfortable trying to find someone on Rover to look after the cats because it wasn't certain whether they still had fleas or not. So although it wasn't ideal and set us back quite a few days in the cleaning process, there wasn't really any other option but to let her come home. The next morning, when I returned to the property, there were new fleas and new flea eggs everywhere, which just, you know, went to confirm it. The fleas had hitched a ride back in on her clothes and on her bags and probably on her too. And the entire property was infested all over again. So I was again starting back at step 1. Yeah, it was rough. It was really rough. As you can imagine, all of this is taking time. And at this point, I'm due to fly out to America in 2 days. So yeah, that's partly the other reason why the chronological order of this clean is all over the place and why there are so many rooms that are missing. For example, there is no footage of the kitchen that we deep cleaned because I was against the clock, running out of time and a little bit stressed if I'm honest, so filming did not take priority for me. Cleaning did. Sorry, I've just realized I've just rambled at you about the situation, but I never actually answered, you know, the whole lack of communication thing. So I'm going to do that quickly now. Sorry again. Obviously, her returning home every night while she was still infested with fleas wasn't very ideal, but she also had the cats with her. And I can't find someone to look after the cats until they are 1000% flea free. She had another friend who said she could stay at theirs. Their only exception was the cats couldn't come with her. So obviously the cats needed to be sorted first. So I would try calling her. You know, I would ask, how are you? What's the update with the cats? Have they still got fleas? Have you been treating them for fleas? Can you let me know when they are? Because obviously when that happens, I can finally book someone from Rover to look after them for the final days of the clean. And she would get very, very upset and kind of shut down and just not answer. It was very difficult to also get hold of her on her mobile. She struggled to answer the phone, and when she did answer the phone, she struggled to speak on the phone. She found it very overwhelming. And I know I keep saying this, but I'm gonna say it again. That is fine. It's completely understandable given everything she's gone through and everything she's currently experiencing at the time of this free clean, that she's not very communicative and it's not easy to get answers out of her. The reason I'm bringing this up is not to try and dissect her character or assassinate her character. I'm bringing it up because I know a lot of you will have lots and lots of questions about this clean, about the resident, about the update, how she's doing now. And the truth is, I don't really have many answers for you, which is very rare. This is the only clean to date that I've done where I don't really have any updates for you. I worked on this clean up until a few hours before my flight to America. And when I was done, I tried to call her and let her know. She didn't pick up the phone. So I sent her a message just letting her know I finished the clean. I've got to run home, you know, sort myself out, pack my suitcase and then get to the airport. And I didn't hear anything back. I sent her another message just saying, you know, I'm leaving now. It would have been nice to go through the property with you, but I completely understand. I'm really sorry I can't stay longer. I've got to go now. So I told her where I'd left the key and, you know, I went to the airport. I got on my plane to America, which is not a short flight, got to America, you know, slept, woke up the next day, and I still hadn't heard from her. So I sent her another message essentially saying like, hey, just wanted to check in with you. How are you doing? Have you had a chance to go back to the flat yet? Is everything okay? If you have any questions or need me to run you through, you know, where everything is, what we've done, aftercare, bits and bobs for moving forward, if the fleas return, you know, what to use, how to use it, etc., etc. And it was only after that prompt that she replied saying, oh yeah, I got to the flat like, you know, a few hours after you left. Thank you. And that was kind of it. I know that the cats have now been rehomed, but that's the only update I've had. It's now 9 p.m. at night, 9:15. The camera's about to die. I'm gonna do this window and then spray down the house and be done for the day. We'll come back tomorrow, we'll finish off and we'll refurnish. Okay, it is now my favorite part of the clean. We're refurnishing. So at Matalon, I got all of the cushions for the sofa, the bedding for the bedroom, basically a lot of the soft furnishing and little decor bits. Now the floors across this property are hard tile. And let's be real, it's not giving cozy vibes. But I decided not to put any rugs or any large soft furnishings back into this place when I was redecorating it, for the simple reason that fleas love soft furnishing, so we want to avoid introducing too much into the home that would be particularly appealing to them. And in full confidence, I know for a fact that I left this home with absolutely no fleas, absolutely no flea eggs. It was gone through with a fine-tooth comb, guys. However, I don't know about, you know, the state of the resident. She potentially may still have fleas on her when she returned home, on her clothes, anything like that. So there's a chance that they could come back. I did leave lots of flea killer for her so she could continue with treatment. So we're keeping it very, very basic. And the vibe is to just bring in some color and make the little bit of furnishings that she does have in here nice and warm and homey. Speaking of nice and warm and homey, big shout out to Harry, because he assembled this bed all by himself in record time. He was amazing. If it wasn't for him, I definitely would have missed my flight because I would still be trying to put it together. But everything in this room was thoroughly cleaned, treated for fleas, steamed and sanitized. This duvet, the pillows, the sheets, everything you see on the bed is all brand new. I don't know if you guys remember at the beginning of the video, but her mattress was basically folded in half, lying on a massive pile of rubbish and clothes. You know, it just didn't look comfortable down there for her. So we've given it a new lease of life, popped it back on the new bed frame for her, and now she has somewhere nice and cozy to sleep at night. In the bathroom, I've got her all brand new toiletries, shampoos, soaps, all of that. She's got new toothpaste, toothbrush, new towels, new bath mat, you name it. Basically everything she would need for when she comes back home. Now, because I had to leave in such a rush on this day, I don't think I filmed myself putting the living room back together again, because it was just all a blur trying to get this clean done and get to the airport. This is the afters of the living room. Obviously all of the rubbish is gone, everything's been deep cleaned. We've got no new pillows on the sofa, we've got decor, flowers, a nice plant. We've given her TV a new lease of life and a deep clean, so that's back on a brand new TV stand for her that I bought. I'm so aware that a big fluffy rug in each room would really just tie the whole thing together, but it wasn't a practical option. But I'm super happy with this clean and everything we achieved, and I hope you guys will agree that it's a big difference, and I really hope the resident feels more at home now and is doing a lot better. Let me know what your favorite room transformation was, and if you haven't already, please drop me a like, drop me a comment, and if you like seeing free cleans like this one, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me to continue giving free cleans to people in need. I know I say it all the time, but that's because it's true. Every time you interact with this channel, you are directly funding the next free clean. You're the best, I love you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!